Good morning. So today I want to have a look at my Halloween 3 trio from Trick or Treat Studios. I think the first mask that I will be reviewing is the skull. So let's get to it. So this is the Trick or Treat Studios officially licensed Halloween 3 skull. In my honest opinion, I love this skull. I think it looks very good. It looks almost exact to the actual skulls used in the film Halloween 3. The overall shape of the skull is very good. All three of these masks are currently stuffed because I want them to maintain their shape as long as possible. Spinning around to the back, you can see the silver shamrock tag that I thought was a nice touch. And it's actually punched out of hard plastic, so it's almost like the real chips in the movie. Which is one thing I'll give Trick or Treat Studios credit for, because the original company who made these masks, who made the skull, was Don Post Studios, who made these skulls all the way back in 1967. But right before they went out of business in 2012, they re-released the skull, and they wanted to have it connected with Halloween 3. So they gave it the Don Post tag. They also gave it a Halloween 3 tag. And I believe on the other side of the neck, they gave it another tag punched out of cardboard that was the Silver Shamrock logo. And on the back of that tag was a printed image of the computer chip from the movie. But it was just really cheap. It was really cheaply done, and this one is more high quality. So I will give props to Trick or Treat Studios for going the extra route. Another thing that is strange is I don't know a great deal about these masks other than the fact that I got them. These were the first runs. These were some of the first runs that Trick or Treat Studios did. But as most people who own one of these masks know, usually the nose is solid black, but mine came from Trick or Treat with the white paint on the nose. So I thought that was a strange little detail, but I'm actually glad that it's like that and it's not solid black how they typically come. But anyway, it's like I've shown already, it still has the original tag with all of the instructions. So there's not really much to say about this mask other than I like it, and I think it's a good representation of what the mask in Halloween 3 looks like. Up next, I'll be taking a look at the witch. So this is the Trick or Treat Studios officially licensed Halloween 3 witch mask. Like the skull, I think that this is a really good mask. And like the skull, I don't know a great deal about the original masks from Don Post Studios that were used. I vaguely remember this mask, the Don Post version of it though, being called the Hag. I could be wrong, but I don't know a great deal about Don Post Studios masks other than these two. I just know like one or two little facts, but that's about it. But as far as the overall look of the mask, I think Trick or Treat Studios did a really good job replicating the look of the Don Post witch mask. One thing I did notice right off the bat, though, was this mask is kind of a bright lime green color with yellow highlights around the wrinkles and brows and raised areas on the nose. And the Don Post version was kind of a darker green, almost kind of like an army green, I want to say. And it was mostly just solid, as far as I can tell. Some of the photos online of them are not that great, but they do kind of have the black highlights on the eyes. It's not as rough as the ones on these, but you can still make out the little bit of black. All of the warts look really good, really gruesome and gross looking, as well as the teeth and the tongue. And one thing I thought was really strange was, I can't do it right now because I'm holding the camera with the other hand, but if you were to pull this hood back, the mask actually has ears. I did not expect that. As with the skull, like I said, with the skull, this is one of the first runs from Trick or Treat Studios, complete with the original tag, still tagged. I love the material for the hood, this almost fleece throw kind of, blanket throw kind of material. And one thing I forgot to mention about the skull, and I may as well go ahead and say it for the pumpkin, I have a slightly larger than average size head, and all three of these masks are incredibly comfortable to wear. But yeah, the hood, I absolutely love the hood. And like the skull, this is a Halloween 3, so it does have the plastic version of the Silver Shamrock button on the back. And that's pretty much it. I think this is a really good representation of the witch from Halloween 3 as well. And last but not least will be the pumpkin. Up next is the Trick or Treat Studios officially licensed Halloween 3 pumpkin. Now, as far as I know, this design was basically pulled out of thin air when it came to getting 3 masks for the Halloween 3 film. The witch and the skull were already made by Don Post before Halloween 3. But they needed 3 masks for the movie, so when they got in contact with Don Post Studios, they basically asked them, could they do a pumpkin? And this was the final product. I think it looks really good in comparison to the movie. Now, as far as movie accuracy, the look is fairly accurate. The mask itself, though, could have been done a little better. I don't hate this mask at all. I love this mask. This mask will always be associated with my all-time favorite horror scene in history. But The overall color of it, I think it's not so much the color, it's just the latex and the way it's painted. Because the mask in the movie is not really a glossy, shiny paint, but this mask is really, really shiny. I mean, you can kind of see some of the gloss, like right here. Whenever I move it, you can see the gloss moving on the mask, catching the light. So that's really my only complaint about the mask. Other than that, I think it looks really good. Another thing, it doesn't have mesh in the eyes. I had to do that myself with some black fabric because I with all three of these, I want them to be display pieces. I don't want them to ever be worn because I want them to live as long as I can possibly keep them alive. As far as detail goes, the stem is a nice greenish color. There's some black and green kind of coloring going around the cuts on the top of the jack-o'-lantern. One thing I really like about that is with the green, it almost kind of makes it, in my opinion, I don't know if it's how it is in the movie, but it kind of makes me think of like the pumpkins starting to decay in this area. So I don't know if that was intentional, but it's a nice little touch to me. If I spin it around, you can see it has a little silver shamrock right here that's molded into the mask. But of course, like the film, it has the actual silver shamrock button. If my camera will focus. Silver Shamrock Novelties. And like I said, this mask will forever be associated with one of my all-time favorite horror movie scenes. Little buddies watching the commercial. And this mask as well was, like I said, a first run. So it still has the tag. This was a retail version though, which I wonder why most retail versions will actually put one of these little white sticker things on the tag because that kind of ruins it. And I'm scared to take it off because I don't want to damage the tag. But yeah, all original tags. And that's pretty much it with him. So that is the Trick 'r Treat Studios Halloween 3 Pumpkin. Halloween 3, in my opinion, was one of the best sequels in the Halloween franchise. And these are certainly some of the best masks that Trick 'r Treat Studios has released to date. There are a few little nitpicks on these masks, but they're not really worth wasting your breath over. And if you're a Halloween fan, I would be lying if I said that you shouldn't go get one. Because these are very good quality masks, very collection worthy, and very fairly priced. So, in my opinion, if you love Halloween 3, these are definitely 3 masks you ought to go get. And with that, I just want to say I'm out.